My project this afternoon is a replacement of the front brake pads for my car. It's a Jaguar XJ, the X351. I'll be showing you the first set of tools that I'll be using, and I'll carry you along the process. I will be using a torque wrench, and that is the torque wrench. And I have the sockets of various sizes. I'll be using the right size to actually remove the wheel nuts. And I have ready a 2-ton hydraulic jack, which I've had for quite a while. It's a 2-ton hydraulic jack, which I'll be using to lift the chassis for the vehicle. A precaution is to actually put a stopper both in front of the rear tire as well as the back, which I have done on the other side, not shown here. That's a security measure for the car not to roll over when you are lifting the jack. It's important to select the right sockets to remove the wheel nuts. For this car, I need a 19 mm socket. So it's all assembled on the wheel nut wrench, and I'm about to give it a go. Once the wheel is removed, I'll catch up with you later. The beauty of a wrench with a ratchet is the way you remove it, it just allows you to go backwards and forwards while unscrewing the nuts. This makes the job a lot easier. And at this stage, you just basically release the nut enough for it to be able to come out before you actually lift the car. Otherwise, it will be awkward and difficult for you to remove the wheel nuts. Right. The car is now ready and it's being gradually lifted using the hydraulic jack. In taking off the wheel nuts, it's best to undo the nuts in a diagonal fashion. Although here I have 5 wheel nuts, so as much as possible I'll go diagonal here first, then there, and then there, and there, or there and there, and never to just do it randomly. It is just basically for extra security, for the tire not to just fall off or you having difficulty taking it off. So it's there, 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 and then maybe that last one. That's the best way I know. Makes it easier for me to take off the tire and get the job done. You can see now I have now lifted the wheel with enough space off the floor for me to completely undo the wheel nuts for the tire and then take it off. I have removed all the wheel nuts, and it's now for me to just take off the wheel itself to have access to the calipers, which is the place where the brake pads are actually housed. Right, That is a caliper, and I will be showing you the next set of tools that I'll be using to remove the calipers. Before that is done, there is this secure mounting that I'll need to take off, and you require a flathead screwdriver to kind of prise it off. So I'll catch you later after I have done that bit. A very useful tool that I think you can invest in is a headlamp. I have this one here. It's an LED rechargeable, high-powered LED. As you can see from my head, it comes on, and then you can have several beams from it. But for this purpose, I'll just keep the middle one on so I can see exactly what I am doing. And I have my spanner with which I'm going to prise off the securing lamp. As I'm a near veteran in some of these DIY, simple DIY, but obviously you need to be a confident DIY enthusiast to do it. I have my own bits of things that I've used in the past, so I don't need to have to buy them all over again. So I already have them ready made. That's a brake cleaner. This hanger is what I devised to hang the caliper so it doesn't dangle off the brake line. That is to actually compress the pistons so that because it has to go in equally at the same time. But before that, I'll have to open the hood, which is the bonnet, and open up the brake fluid reservoir, because by now the reservoir would have gone down because of the brake lining being worn out. But before I actually put a new one in, which will be thicker, I need to open the reservoir so that as I'm pushing in the piston, the reservoir level rises up again. And it's just to be watched in case it overflows. So basically, if there is too much of brake fluid in the reservoir, I'll need to scoop it out so to allow for the new brake pad, which will be much thicker than the one that I'm removing. So that's to compress the pistons. I have my gloves here, but these are during my early days when I used to wear gloves, but I just get on with the job now. But I probably will still wear it later, as you can see. I think basically that is what you need to know about. I have some brushes here to brush off excess brake dust. It's a good idea to actually wear a mask, you know, but it is advisable anyway. So even if you don't see me wearing a mask, I'm pretty okay. That Loctite glue is for applying to the nuts that I'll be removing, so that at least when I put it back, it's securely tightened. I am very confident in what I do, and in actual fact, I believe I do a better job, and this is not the first time I'm doing it. I'm just using the opportunity to actually encourage others that may be that inclined or savvy enough and determined enough to want to actually try this. That it is not impossible for you to do. You just need to have the interest, because the interest is the first thing you need to have, and then the skills. If you're not confident, please don't try it. If you don't trust yourself, please don't try it. I trust myself. I've done it more than 5-6 times since the very early days when I had smaller cars, and I've done it on this car as well more than a couple of times, both the front and the rear. but this is just the first time I'm demonstrating the actual process in a more detailed way, just as an extra motivation for whoever cares. Fair enough, it's not all about money savings, about the interest, but of course, I know how much it would cost if I take it into the garage to have it done by the dealership. It's not gonna make you smile. So doing it for the fun of it and for the money that is being saved, I think for me it's all worth it. It's a Friday afternoon job for me. Nice, lovely day, nice in my garage, and all the necessary tools in place. So I'm happy to proceed. An additional safety measure when working under a car that you have jacked up is to actually use a jack stand. This will actually help to keep you safe if you have to go under the car, should in case the hydraulic jack fails and the car drops suddenly. But if this is under, you'll need to find the right place under your vehicle where you can put it. Normally you need to find a place just somewhere on the axle where it can actually carry the weight of the vehicle. I know where I normally put it on this car, and it's served me well in the past, and I'm going to just do the same again now, because I want to actually lift the two sides of the car up, because as I just examined the brake pads, they still look pretty heavy. That is, it doesn't look like it's worn. Even though the car was giving me an indication that the brake pads are worn, this side that I've opened doesn't have that problem. So I'm going to raise the car up, check the other side. It is not impossible that it is just a sensor that actually got dislodged. And if that is the case, that's good for me, but at least I would have satisfied myself that I checked to make sure the actual brakes are not faulty. If it's a sensor, I have a spare sensor that I can put in, or better still, if that sensor is still working, I'll just put it back in its place so it keeps on working like it should do. But the brake pads in this case here seem to be pretty okay. I would try and show you if you can see how thick it is, because I'm pretty satisfied on this side. Well, I haven't looked at the inside one, but the outside one looks okay. I'll still remove it just to be actually certain, because I cannot walk this far and not really check to make sure I have not wasted my energy for nothing. And I will be lifting the car from the other side as well to double check, because the sensors are normally on one set of the pads. It could be the left or right, but in this case it's on the left. For the rear of the vehicle, it's on the right. So I'm gonna still disassemble the calipers to check to be certain that the two pads are fine. Upon careful examination of the tire that I've taken off and checking the pads, whereas the outer pad looked pretty okay, the inner one seemed to be pretty low. It's actually getting close to the rotor, so most definitely it requires changing. That's a job to be done. So that's even before taking off the other wheel. But regardless, both wheels would need to be changed at the same time, as it's a best practice. I mean, you can see that is the notch on the brake pad, and that is the rotor. So the amount of pad left is pretty thin. The indication for this may be an alignment issue. So when I change the pads, the car will need to go for an alignment. I mean, just to prevent premature wear of the brake pads, and of course save me some money there, even though I'll spend money on the alignment. But that's the way to go. As I was reporting earlier with the removal of the calipers, it was a little bit tough. So to get it off, I had to actually push the caliper inwards so as to press in the piston a little bit. You can't see it properly now. To allow the caliper to come out. That is the piston. That's it, the one with the hole inside there. I hope you can see it. That's the piston. So I had to push it in a little bit to free the caliper from the assembly. That's the assembly, and I have just removed one of the brake pads. As you can see, this one is literally gone. That's the side that doesn't have the sensor on it. But looking at that, you can see that definitely the other side will be gone too. However, the other side still seems to be fairly okay, but it's pretty gone as well. I mean, not at the same rate as the other one. It's still got a bit of life, but ideally it needs to be changed. Definitely after changing, would have to take it to the garage to have the alignment done, because the brakes ought to be wearing pretty similar to each other, but the inner brake pad seem to have worn much faster. But I think it's all to do with the alignments. But nonetheless, I think I got a good wear from these. I will be using the power stop, which I'll be showing you later, as a replacement. These ones were the Bembro brakes. I did have a problem with the amount of dust that was coming off from that. So I'll be replacing with the power stop ceramic brake pads. I'll catch up with you later. Thank you. As part of the preparation for the installation of the new brake pads, I needed to dust off or brush off the excess dust from the earlier installments. I mean, basically to prepare a nice surface for the new brake pads to sit in properly. Yeah. So this is the off side, or rather the near side, for the left-hand drive vehicles. It is the passenger seat that I'm doing right now. The brake pad with the sensor is on the driver's side, and I'll be working on that after completing this side. I'll catch up with you later. This is just to introduce you to the power stop brakes that I'll be using as replacement for the Bembro that I took off. I mean, it comes with a full assembly of items that I'm supposed to use, but of course I don't have to use everything. These are the actual brake pads. If you can see, this is the one that is not so worn, and this is the new one. You can see that the ones that are worn is pretty low, and is actually what is causing the sensor light to come up, as in the brake light sensor inside the dashboard. This other one, you can see, is totally worn compared to a new one. You can see the difference in thickness. So that's the one I'll be replacing with, and I'm ready to ramble with that. Pretty much what you need to know for now. and I've taken you through the process of removing the brake pads. Reinstallation is basically the same procedure in reverse order. The other one with the sensor just have the additional sensor bead that will be replaced when I get to that one. So I hope you followed as much as you can, but like I said, you need to be an enthusiast big time, and you need to have the tools and you need to have the knowledge. If you don't have it, please don't start. Don't even attempt it, because the brakes are a very, very essential part of the car, and without the competence that is fully required, don't attempt it. I believe I even do a better job than going to the garage where they just do a quick job just for the money. I do it mainly for my interest, and also for the fact that I want a proper job to be done. And of course, in doing that, I save myself some money. But you say time is money as well, but I got a bit of time to do a good job for my car, and that's how it just goes. So stay tuned. The next stage is to actually lubricate the brake pads, and I've applied the actual ceramic component lubricants that is supposed to be applied. You apply it to the surfaces that are likely to be heated when driving, the back of the brake pads and the notches where it's going to sit in the caliper housing. So I've applied to both of them, and it's for me to go and install in place. The advantage of having the lubricant is with intense heat, the actual metals can fuse together. But to prevent them from fusing together, you apply the lubricant, which actually is quite heat resistant and allows the movement to happen. I'll be applying the lubricant to the guide pins as well, so that to allow the easy movement of the brakes. When you apply, you know, the calipers move in and out to clamp on the actual brake disc, or the rotor rather. So when you apply the brake, it closes onto the rotors, and when you release it and the car is moving again, the brake pads releases from the rotors, so the car can move. I hope you understand the basics of the mechanism there. These are the guide pins that I was talking about. That is what you would use to put the calipers back on and clamp them together. This has like a hexagonal bit that goes in there to tighten it. So I'm going to be lubricating the body of the guide pins, so it allows free movement of the calipers. Without that, under intense heat of braking, the metals can actually fuse together, making it very difficult to remove when you need to replace the brake pads. So it's a very, very essential part of what you'll be doing, and it's just for you to see. You can see a bit of grinding action there, because maybe the lubricant wasn't enough the last time or previously, but I'm going to be lubricating properly now again, so it can go in and do the job it's supposed to do. Very important part of the brakes. A very important step that is still required before full assembly is to get the piston back to a level where it's flush with the caliper housing. And of course, after getting that in, you would need to apply lubricant around the ring of the piston itself. But you need to be careful not to apply the silicone or ceramic lubricant on the actual gasket around it, because that's rubber. But you just want the metal bit to have a bit of lubricant so that it doesn't get stuck at the back of the brake pads. That is a very important step. But at the same time, like I said, the calipers need to be pushed back in. So the first thing I'm gonna do is to try and wipe down the piston head, the ring, and clean it a little bit so I can apply fresh lubricant to it. And you can see that the brake pads are already in place, you know, sitting nicely in the best position. The inner one is also there. For the other side, the actual sensor goes into that groove so that when the wear gets to the sensor, that's when it indicates in the car that your brake pads are worn. This reduces you having to check physically, but sometimes you may actually decide to check because if for any reason the sensor is dislodged, you may think you need new brake pads, and in that case you would end up removing the pads before they're actually due to be replaced. But generally you should trust your sensors to tell you when to actually replace the brakes. It should be secure enough for you to trust that the sensor is actually giving you the correct reading, that you need to remove the brakes or the pads to replace them. I'm gonna now assemble the piston compression, and the idea is to place an old sensor or old brake pad, and this is a device that you use to compress the calipers back into place. You need to move the caliper or the piston adjuster. You move it close enough to the actual brake pad that you want to use to compress the piston back into place. And then I'll catch up with you in a minute so I can do this properly and show you what I'm doing. But it's essentially trying to push the calipers back into place. As you can see, the other piston clamp did not work quite well, so I had to use a G clamp, and it's already in place, and you would see how the actual piston goes back in as I try to squeeze it. You can see it going back in. You want it to go back in a very flat manner all the way in. So when it's in, that's when you know that on putting back the brakes, it was sitting nicely. Meanwhile, I had already opened the brake fluid reservoir to make sure that any push of the piston back inside would give room for the fuel or the fluid inside the reservoir to rise without hindrance, and compressing the piston all the way back in. You can see that I've done that, and the next stage is to put the calipers back in. You can see that it's all nice and flush, and all I need to do is just apply a little bit of lubricant there, or maybe not, because there's already enough lubricant on the back of the brake pad itself, so it may not be really necessary, but I just touched up a little bit, and that's basically what it is. And then the next process is to assemble and making sure that I lubricate the guide pins that will hold everything back together. I'll catch you up in a minute. The important reason why you need to suspend the caliper housing is to protect the brake fluid line, because you don't want that to snap or crack. Otherwise, your brake fluid will just be all over the place, damaging a lot of things, and your brake failing. So it's important to actually make sure it's well suspended so it doesn't actually put any strain on the brake line. You can't see the brake line here, it's behind somewhere. You can see it there, and I have tried to protect it as much as possible by hanging it and actually resting it so it's well secure. So now I'm going to unhook that in order to put the calipers back in place. You can see the brake line, so I make sure that there is no stress on it, and I gently put the calipers back in place. In this case, to allow the inner brake to sit properly, it has to go inside the caliper position, and to allow it to sit properly. Otherwise, if I don't put it inside the caliper, the piston housing, it means I will have a problem putting the caliper over the brakes. So you can see that the brake is sitting inside the piston on the inner side. This is specific to the Jaguar XJ, and the other one sits okay, so I don't have a problem with that. You can see that's a new brake sitting nicely on the inner side of the assembly. And now I'm gonna place it over. You may not see that clearly, but I would move it back in a way that you would also see it. That's it. The caliper is back in place, and the matter for me now is to ensure the assembly is well seated. And I think it is. Now I need to assemble the guide pins. The next bit may be a bit difficult for you to see because it's right behind, and I don't know how else I can let you see, but for you to just believe that all I'm doing there is basically installing the guide pins. It's a little bit dark in there, but believe it when I'm saying it, I'm applying the on the guide pins to make sure reduce the risk of the guide pins actually sticking on movement of the calipers. You need to be very careful not to allow the lubricant to get onto the brake surface or the rotor surface, because that will reduce friction. So with a bit of faith, you need to believe that I'm trying to locate where the guide pins go into. With a bit of hope, I think I have it in place, and it's for me to just try and drive it in. Since it's a bit too dark, I don't see any point in you watching this, because it's dark in there, so you can't see what I'm doing. The next phase of the replacement of the brake pads for the Jaguar XJ 2015 is the driver's side front wheel. This one actually has the sensor, which is indicated by the little cord that you see, the white cord there. So the process is pretty much the same as on the other side, except for the sensor. And replacing the sensor, of course, is essential, because if you don't replace the sensor, the other sensor is already worn, which means if you use the same sensor, naturally your brake pads would have been worn so badly that for you to sense it, it means it's probably would have gone into a very dangerous zone. So the sensor will be changed here. The first thing I have to do here is to remove the sensor before the start. So I have a crocodile, or the nozzle plier, with which I will remove, and that is removed. So it's gonna be replaced with a new one. That's the first guide pin removed from its lock position. That needs to be cleaned out and greased again for reinsertion. This is not something you throw away. So it's part of the caliper that you need to keep in place. I just carefully remove the other guide pin to be able to remove the calipers. You'll see that very shortly. That's the other caliper pin, the guide pin. The grease is literally gone, so I'm going to be applying a new one after cleaning these out. So that's how it goes. As was the case with the other wheel, I I have an improvised hanger which I would use to hang the caliper, because you don't want the caliper to be hanging loose, because the brake line can easily fracture, and of course that's a bigger problem. So I would use one of the upper controlled arms for this purpose, and it's basically to help hold up the caliper whilst there's a gentle control on the brake itself, or the caliper. Because right now the piston is fully compressed against the brakes, so that's why there's a bit of difficulty getting that out. And what happens in this case is I'll need to gently push back the caliper, because the brake is coming out anyway. So pushing back the caliper shouldn't be a problem. I need 2 hands for that, so that's the caliper coming up nicely without pulling at the cable to keep the line suspended. So that is now nicely suspended away from the work surfaces. As you can see, this is one of the brake pads. For the system, you could tell it's still okay, but the sensor will tell you otherwise. That's the outer brake pad. You can see how worn it is. And the inner one is practically gone. If you compare the two, you will see that the outer brake pad has a bit of thread left in it, but the other one literally hasn't got anything left. So that's a more reason why the indicator came lighting up, and you can see that is the actual sensor. When I removed it, I wasn't able to remove it completely because the wire broke off, but you can see that it is actually fully gone. I'll just try and price it out for you to actually see what it looks like. It's on the wire, so I mean, it's actually crumbling already. That is the sensor. It has a little bit of pad there that actually senses when the pad is actually worn. As you can see, that's the wire connected to it, but it got broken when I was pulling out. But definitely this is gone, and I'll be replacing the whole sensor cable. You will see the new sensor cable when I bring it out. I don't want to disconnect it now because I need to get the exact position where it's supposed to go. Catch you later. As with the other one, I have to compress the piston back into place, because without compressing the piston, I won't be able to install the new brakes because there won't be enough space for it. And to do that is to apply pressure using an old brake pad and a G clamp or a C clamp. I had a tool, but obviously it doesn't work for this particular car. I use it to do compression for the other car because there is space within the caliper for that to go in. So I'll be using the old brake pad system with a G clamp to compress that in, and you will see that very shortly. Now the G clamp is in place. I hope you can see what I'm doing, and you'll see how the piston will start going in upon compression. The G clamp is a little bit awkward to place, but I'm still managing to get the damn thing compressed. Because it's all about positioning the clamp squarely over the piston with the brake pad in place. But it's pretty much done. It's a very tight space. It's all about being or having some dexterity to get the thing to do what you, or basically to do your bidding. You need to be very careful not to let the caliper drop off, because that'll be very disastrous, and that's where my DIY skills will probably stop, because I won't want to mess about with any other detail work with the brakes more than changing the pads. Yeah. That's it. Yeah, as a perfect flush or near perfect flush, as you can see. I hope you can see what I'm talking about. Let's see. That's the piston, and it's all nice and flush now, so I can comfortably put the new brake pads in there, and it'll be well seated. And like before, I'll need to grease the surfaces, the back of the pads, and the notch that sits on the calipers, you know, generally giving the whole place a good clean before the reinstallation. So that's where I'll pause for a while and then show you the rest. These are the old pads that are removed. You can see how thin. That's the one with the sensor totally gone completely, and that's the other side. It's pretty much gone as well. Like I said, it's probably to do with the alignment that you have the uneven wearing. Can you now compare like for like for you to see the amount of wear? That is probably as much as half an inch, or maybe probably about 1 centimeter thick, whereas that is completely gone. And that is the inner brake pad, the one that the sensor is attached to. The other one, if you compare with the new one, you can see that doesn't have the hole. That's the new one, and you can see the difference too. I mean, it's a far cry. Although, fair enough, some people may say, oh, you can still use that, but I'd rather walk on the side of caution to make sure I'm safe, and whoever is in the car with me is also safe. So that is to show you what the replacement is all about. And we're going to be installing the new one. That is a new cable. This is a very fragile piece, so it's important that you handle with very extreme care, because once you damage the cable, you will think you have the sensor, but it obviously isn't working. So that's the replacement cable, and that's the sensor head. You see, that's what actually wears. You can see the moment that little hoop or little bump on top is worn, it will start indicating in your car that it needs replacement. And that actually gets fitted into this groove here, that way. So now it's sitting nicely on the sensor, and you can see how low it is to the height of the pad itself. So the moment the pad actually wears to the top of the hoop there, or the hump more or less, that's when the indicator in the car will start telling you the sensor is worn. But in this case, you can see that it actually was literally gone. In fact, the sensor was beginning to disintegrate before I changed it, because I thought, okay, I'll just push it a little bit more before I actually change. So that's the assembly for the pad that has a sensor fitted on it. It's just a matter of disconnecting the old one and connecting this one to the same spots. And that's about it. I'll catch up with you later. Now I have to clean the guide pins to remove the dried out ceramic lubricant that allows the calipers to move up and down. Well, that's nicely cleaned, and it's to apply the lubricant to the surfaces and the notches where the calipers sit. I mean, the whole idea of the grease is to ensure that at braking speeds, the heat generated actually causes metal to fuse together sometimes. So this idea is to basically reduce the risk of that happening. Not that I drive the car that much, but it's so a routine thing that you need to do when you change brake pads. So these are the other areas that you need to concentrate on, because that's where the brake sits on the calipers. So I'll just squeeze a bit on the grooves. And of course, the guide pins need to be equally treated so that the brakes does not seize due to lack of lubrication. I mean, I actually have another tube of lubricant, but this is the one that is actually supplied with the actual brake pad, so I thought I might as well just use it up. And since the one that is actually recommended, I think I better use it. The previous installation that I made, I didn't have to use the supplied lubricants. I used another branded one. Whichever one you use, just make sure it's one that is appropriate and will do the job accordingly. This is my Saturday jobber. I enjoy doing it. It's not of anything else, but just plain passion and interest that I've carefully nurtured and developed over the years. I just believe one thing, that there is nothing that cannot be challenged by somebody who is a bit discerning and is willing and able to learn, or is ready to learn. I'd rather spend this time doing this than worrying about the worries of the world, all the issues around the world. Not that I'm not bothered, but it's just to show that there are things that you can do better with your time than to sit around and worrying about all sorts of things going on around you. At least to reduce the wahala or the problems that you should really concern yourself with. I hope what I'm doing will serve as a motivation to some that can be bothered and motivate others to say, okay, I can try that. Because there is nothing particularly special about these things, except for your own determination and your readiness to take steps towards getting things done. So not having tools is not really the absolute excuse, because I'm sure if you're that willing, then you should be able. There are sites where you can buy some of these tools, or worst case scenario, maybe just go and rent from a mechanic, because it's all about your interest, you know. But I love it. I just love doing these things. And I believe nothing goes past me without me having a say or knowledge about it. From setting aluminum windows, to bricklaying, to construction work, I do everything. And I actually love doing it. This is the installation of the pad that carries the cable. You need to be extremely careful so as not to damage the cable, because it is very, very fragile. So that's sitting nicely in its position. As you can see, that's the inner one with the cable, and the outer one will just sit nicely in its own position, just on the caliper outside. You can see that's the one. Yeah, that's the two of them installed. The next phase is to carefully put the caliper over the other one. This is an extremely delicate job, so you have the strength and wherewithal to make sure everything sits. Right. The cable goes over that because that's where I got it out from to secure it. And that's the other one that was removed. I just basically clip it out. And carefully disconnect from the old assembly. You may not be able to see this very well, but I think right. I think because that is a bit hidden off, there may not be a need for me to just keep you watching what you can't see. That's the cable removed, and you can see that it's the same head as the other one. So basically I will just be replacing like for like. Yeah. It's a bit awkward getting into that space, so I may have to well, let me leave it there in case you can still observe what's going on. So that goes in its place. I'm gonna connect that first and then basically clip everything back into place. This is a very delicate job, because it's like walking in the dark. That's it. It did clip in the end. It's just a case of keeping fingers crossed to know if I broke any wire in the cable or everything is fine. But I think I've been careful enough to ensure that I did not break anything, and everything looks and seems fine. So the next phase now is to completely assemble the guiding pins to complete the caliper installation. The guide pins have been inserted, and it's just a case of tightening them into position. There is no torque specified, but the whole thing you need to do is just make sure it's tight enough to make it easier and easily retrievable when you need to do another job on the brakes. That's it. The beauty of using a ratchet spanner or driver is you don't have to go all the way around. Just gentle movements will gradually drive whatever screw, bolt, or nut into place without much aggravation. Right, I think that is the assembly completed, and it's for me to do a quick check before putting everything back together. The other wheel has been assembled, but before I put this back on, I will just check that the engine light is now off, and I will go ahead and complete the installation of the actual tire back on the wheel. Right, with all the job done, with the compression of the piston, the brake fluid reservoir just rose to the right level now, so there's no need to do any topping. So I'm pretty happy with that, for a job well done without wasting any brake fluid. And yeah, finally I would now check the engine to make sure the brake light indicator fault has been cleared. Just starting the car now. Bingo! And the brake light fault indicator is disappeared. The only thing you're seeing is that the hood is open and the door for the driver's seat is open. That is the only fault, so that is no fault, because I still have the boot, or rather the bonnet, which is the hood, and my side door open. The echo light there is just for the stop and start, so a job well done.